In this video, I'll show you some problems that are like the problems on homework 9. This problem is like the first problem on homework 9. It says a population of 4 people have the following ages. It says a person randomly selects 2 people from the population, records their ages, and calculates the mean age of the sample. The first part of the problem says to calculate the mean of the population. In this part of the problem, I added the 4 ages, and I divided the total by 4 to get the mean of the population. The second part of the problem says to calculate the 6 sample means and the sampling distribution. In this part of the problem, I sorted the population into all possible samples of 2 people, and I calculated the mean of each possible sample. When you randomly select 2 people from a population of 4 people, the possible samples are 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, and 3, 4. The third part of the problem says to calculate the mean of the sampling distribution. In this part of the problem, I added the 6 sample means of the sampling distribution, and I divided the total by 6. The fourth part of the problem says to create a diagram of the population and a diagram of the sampling distribution. I created the diagram of the population on the left side. I made a number line. Under the number line, I put the 4 values in the population. Above the number line, I made an X for each population member. The population members have values of 20, 30, 40, and 50. Down here I labeled the mean of the population. This symbol stands for population mean. Right here I made an arrow going up to 35 because 35 is the mean of the population. Over here on the right side, I made a diagram of the sampling distribution. I made the same number line. Above the number line, I plotted the 6 sample means in the sampling distribution, which are the 6 sample means that I calculated in part B. I stacked these 2 sample means above each other because they're the same number. These 2 sample means both equal 35. Down here, I wrote the symbol for population mean and the symbol for the mean of a sampling distribution of sample means. And I made an arrow going up to 35 because both of these numbers equal 35. This part of the question asks if the mean of the population and the mean of the sampling distribution came out to the same number. I said yes because I got the same answer in part A and part C. This question is like question 2 on the homework assignment. It says that a population of 4 people have the following ages. It says that a person randomly selects 3 people from the population, records their ages, and calculates the mean age of the sample. The first part of the problem says to calculate the mean of the population. In this part of the problem, I added the 4 ages and divided the total by 4 to get the mean of the population. This part of the problem says to calculate the means of the possible samples. There's actually 4 of them. In question 2, it'll say, in part B of the second question, it'll say calculate the means. It'll say calculate the 4 sample means of the sampling distribution. In this part of the problem, I sorted the population into all possible samples of 3 people. I calculated the mean of each one. This part of the problem says to calculate the mean of the sampling distribution. In this part of the problem, I added the 4 sample means that I calculated in part B, and I divided the total by 4. This part of the problem says to create a diagram of the population and a diagram of the sampling distribution. I did this the same way I did in the first problem. This is the diagram of the population, the 4 people. This diagram shows the 4 sample means in the sampling distribution. These are just the 4 sample means that I calculated in part B. In the diagram of the population, it says a population of 4 people have these ages. And it says a person randomly selects 2 people from the population, records their ages, and calculates the mean of the sample. And it says, what's the probability that the person will get a sample mean of 35? I just had to count the number of samples with a sample mean of 35 and divide the total by 6 because there's 6 possible samples. There's 2 possible samples with a sample mean of 35, so I divided 2 by 6, and I got an answer of 0.33. This question is like the 4th question on the homework assignment. It says a population of 4 people of these ages. A person randomly selects 3 people from the population, records their ages, and calculates the mean age of the sample. It says what's the probability that the person will get a sample with a sample mean of 40? Well, one of the possible samples has a sample mean of 40, and there's 4 possible samples. So I divided 1 by 4 and I got an answer of 0.25. This is a standard error question. To solve this question, you divide the population standard deviation by the square root of the sample size, and you get the answer. I found the square root of 43, and it came out to 6.56. This says how far is the sample mean expected to be from the population mean. That answer is the same as the standard error because that's what the standard error tells you. This question is asking me to find the standard error of a proportion. To solve this problem, I deployed the population proportion of 0.54 and the sample size of 27 into this formula, and then work through the steps to get to the final answer. This says, how far is the sample proportion expected to be from the population proportion? The answer is the same as the standard error because that's what the standard error tells you. This question asks you to find the z-score of a sample mean. In this question, I subtracted the sample mean of 21.2 by the population mean of 20, and I divided by the standard error, which is the population standard deviation over the square root of the sample size. I worked through the steps and I got an answer of positive 2.61. Then I created a diagram. I put the population mean at the center. I said z equals 0 because the population mean has a z-score of 0. And I just labeled these other z-scores under the tick marks. Up here I put an x bar where the z-score falls. The z-score is 2.61, so I put this sample mean at about 2.61. This question asks you to find the z-score of a sample proportion. To get the z-score of a sample proportion, you subtract the sample proportion, which in this question is 0.53, by the population proportion, which is 0.45, and you divide by the standard error of the proportion. So I had to work through all of these steps, and I got an answer of positive 1.14, and I just made a diagram right here. I put the population proportion of 0.45 at the center. I said z equals 0. I labeled these other z-scores under the number line. And I put the symbol for sample proportion where the z-score falls. Z-score was 1.14, so I put the p-hat at 1.14.